Hello, everybody, and welcome to another video here on the Around the Slice Entertainment YouTube channel. I know it's been a while. I apologize for that, but I have hopefully a treat for you guys today. As today, I am here to give you my full my full spoiler-filled review for HBO's Task. Before we dive in, key phrase there, spoiler-filled. So, of course, since this is a pretty meaty TV show, as with anything, this is your one and only spoiler warning before we move forward and move along with today's full spoiler-filled review, of course. So, if you haven't seen all 7 episodes of Task, go watch them. Well, like this video, go watch them and then come back for my full entertaining thoughts. Hopefully you think they're entertaining. So, as with my prior reviews, I'm going to give my positives, negatives, but I wanted to kind of spice these videos up a little, spice these reviews up a little. So something I'm adding into the fold, if you will, is my personal show MVP, which to me is a combination of my personal favorite character of said show we're reviewing, in this case, Task, and also a combination of that, and also a combination of the best performances in terms of actors such actress. And then, of course, we'll give them my final score. So kind of a more in-depth lens of who my show MVP is. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So just some background. This show was not on my radar at all. I didn't really seek out any promos for it before it premiered at HBO/HBO Max. I didn't seek out any trailers. I didn't hear anyone really talk it hype, if you will, leading up to it. But after the first premiere, after the premiere episode, the first episode, whatever you want to term it as and call it, what have you, I kind of looked on Twitter because obviously I'm in a lot of nerd spaces and, like, if you want to call it that, a lot of pop culture fandom stuff. And everyone was kind of like freaking out about it, but in a good way. Like, you got to watch the show, it'll hook you immediately. So I popped on the first episode and I was hooked immediately. And it would premiere every Sunday night. But of course, because of my job with fantasy analyst and NFL football, I didn't watch it till Monday morning or Monday in general, but neither here nor there, just some background. So yeah, I was hooked immediately, really hype leading up to it, but everyone was talking about it on the Twitter streets, if you will. So yeah, my positives, this isn't going to be in succinct order, just kind of like, how these reviews are, how my mind works. If you've been here before, I'm just going to kind of like throw stuff at you guys. Positives. I know this is kind of like full nerd sphere, and I don't want to go full nerd here and full pop culture dude here, but like this show, if you look at the nuts and bolts of it, in my opinion, the editing, the shots, and most importantly, the soundtrack, all elite. Oh my God. As soon as a tense/suspenseful moment pops up, boom, soundtrack, you're immediately in that forest. You're immediately in that sphere. And also just the shots and the editing back and forth, the cinematography, all the behind the scenes stuff, all the nuts and bolts, as I said a couple of seconds ago, if you will, it was all there. I really love all the time and care this was given with all the suspenseful moments. Speaking of suspenseful moments, nearly every single episode, not everyone, there was one episode in particular I didn't enjoy. That's the one where I don't want to say I didn't enjoy, but I didn't find it nearly as suspenseful as all the other episodes. So yeah, that is when Robbie Pendergrast kind of drives Tom out to the forest. His intention is to deep woods, excuse me. His intention is to kill him, but he ends up not because he has kids, had a wife, family, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't find that. I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't nearly as suspenseful. But nearly every single episode in the series was full of a ton of suspense and action. The gun-to-gun and hand fighting, the gun-to-gun face-offs in this episode, in the series, particularly in the finale with Jason. I have my issues with the finale, but I'll get to that when I get to that in a minute. But particularly the kind of action and gun scenes with Jason kind of not kidnapping Maeve, but holding her hostage, if you will, and kind of like parading her around the chicken coop and all that, just to threaten, and he kind of threatens Tom, like, I'll kill her if you don't back up. All that in the family, wonderfully done. But all the hand-to-hand combat scenes, all the gun scenes, all the shooting scenes, if you will, were intense, suspenseful, and most important, action-packed. So I really loved that nearly every single episode. Again, besides that one episode, I still enjoyed it, but not nearly as suspenseful. I thought, sorry about that, in my opinion. Next, now this is important. Most characters, I say most because there were a couple characters background that I didn't necessarily jive with, if you will, or they didn't get enough backstory, but Unfortunately, I'll have to get that when I talk about my negatives in a minute or two. But most characters, most in the series, receive a really good amount of character development and background. I look at Robbie and his relationship with his brother Billy, Robbie, and Billy Pendergrast, if you will, specifically. All the flashback scenes throughout the whole series, halfway through the series, whatever, with that one specific episode was really well done. That one big flashback scene with Robbie and Maeve and all the kids and their uncle Billy and Billy in general, and specifically and what have you, that was really, really well done. And Aaron shows up, obviously, with the kind of flame they have with Billy and Aaron, but that was really well done. I like the flashback scenes of seeing the relationship. That's why I say most of them, again, unfortunately, except one or two, received a ton of good background and character development. Now I'm going to get to my negatives. And I think from what I've heard chatter and stuff and other reviews and stuff, which, by the way, I can't get enough of the show, so I consume as many content as I can after watching each episode. But I'm still personally not 100% sure what Perry and Jason's relationship is and how far that dynamic goes and where that dynamic kind of came from and how it works. Like, is it a father-son dynamic? Because I don't know how much older, but Perry is clearly older than Jason. Perry DeRazzo is clearly older than Jason Wilkes, so there's number one. And obviously he's like a mentor. So is it like a mentor-student dynamic? Is it like a father-son dynamic? Not in terms of blood, just like in terms of relationship. Or is it like a brother-brother relationship? Or does he protect him? He clearly cares for him. He clearly cares about his well-being, Perry, for Jason, that is. So I'm not entirely sure what their dynamic is. I could have really wanted and honestly should have used some background knowledge on that whole relationship, but whatever. There's a certain storyline, unfortunately, in this series as a whole, and I think they dragged it out too much. Not a ton, but bottom line, end of the day, too much. And I know this guy gets some flack if you will in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to hear you guys what you think. But one specific storyline that I didn't necessarily care for was the whole Emily, Sarah, Ethan dynamic. Listen, I understand with Ethan how they had to paint a picture of Tom's home life. He gets drunk every night by drinking, and that's due to his home life with Ethan. Obviously killing his wife, Susan Brandis, with the adopted kids, Emily and Ethan there specifically, and what have you. But I get all that. I get the personal home conflict of Tom's an FBI agent. He's in law enforcement, but you know, he has to deal with the guilt and feelings. Not guilt. I don't know how to explain it. Feelings, if you will, of his son being in jail and incarcerated in the courtroom scene at the end of the season. Very tail end of the last episode. But that whole dynamic with Sarah blowing up at Emily all the time and Emily trying to protect Ethan all the time. And then Sarah says, oh, yeah, by the way, I got divorced in an episode or two with, I think it was Andy. Who the hell cares? I say who the hell cares because, like, I that whole dynamic and that whole thing didn't particularly interest me. Like, I understand, again, the home dynamic of Tom being in law enforcement with FBI, but I don't know. It wasn't weird to me. I just found it kind of boring, and I think they dragged it out too much. The other suspenseful storylines, the Dark Hearts, were way more interesting. Maeve and the kids were way more interesting. Robbie and Cliff, in the very beginning, Peaches raiding the drug houses were very interesting. Even Sam and his home life, even though we didn't get much background on Sam and his home life, were way more interesting than the whole Ethan, Sarah, Emily courtroom dynamic, jail thing, whatever you want to call it. This is really something that they tied up most loose ends, if not, well, not all. They tied up most loose ends in this episode, but obviously, Ray Lyman is incarcerated once again in jail, but for trying to help Cliff and Robbie and steal the drugs from them before Jason offs and kills Cliff. Sad moment. But neither here nor there. Because I feel like the one specific weird, if you want to even call it weird, loose end that they failed to tie up is the crackhead, Shelley. At the end of episode 6, the penultimate episode, the second to last episode, she knocks on the door and says, Robbie wanted me to give you this. I'm so sorry. And Robbie clearly gave her the drugs to stole. Number one, Robbie put a lot of trust in crackhead Shelley. But number two, she just weirdly shows up at the door, drops off the money, which is later we find out when Maeve was talking to her friend, $1 million from the Chuck E. Cheese or whatever, like thing, $1 million, and she tries to hide it and all that. But I don't know, like, Shelley, the crackhead, showing up just like with all that trust in the middle of the night. And then the very last episode, we never get closure on her character. Like, how did she get that money? I wanted a flashback scene. Me personally, I wanted a flashback scene of Robbie going to Shelly and saying, "Give this to Maeve," or something to that extent, if you will. So I don't know. That felt really weird and confusing and honestly odd to me. I had mixed feelings on the finale, man. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I thought the penultimate episode, I know everyone loved the shootout, very suspenseful, blah blah blah, and then Lizzie dies. That was a really sad moment. But I don't know. I thought that shootout was kind of like not misguided, but rushed, if you will, a bit, if that makes sense. In episode 7, the finale, I thought it was way more suspenseful than episode 6, with Jason coming to the chicken coop, coming to Robbie, the deceased Robbie's house, and threatening Maeve and stuff, and then Grasso is the one that has to kill him, and then Grasso, well, not dies, but is in critical condition, and Grasso fighting back, leaning up in the truck as he is potentially about to die, bleeding out everywhere. He killed Jason himself, which he was a leak for Jason and treated him like a brother from all accounts. So that was way more suspenseful. But the finale itself, some of the not plot holes, but some of the plot conveniences that they use, like the whole Perry Jason thing. Obviously, Vincent, direct orders from the Mother Club, gives Perry an offer. You either kill that kid, talking to Jason, you either kill Jason tonight or we're going to find him tomorrow morning. So Perry goes, he gets a knife in the little cabin. Jason comes down and says, "Oh, the shower doesn't work." And then Perry has the knife right behind him. And Jason's like, "What's wrong?" And Perry's like, nothing. And then he drops the knife and walks away. I would have liked to see kind of a fight there, like Perry, like, boom, try to knife him right in the chest or something. I know that sounds violent and gruesome, but the nature of the show, guys, unfortunately. So, I mean, I would have liked to see a bit more fight from Jason fighting back, and I thought Perry should have attempted and tried to do it right then and there, instead of kind of a cheapening way to do it, kind of a cheapening way for Perry to die, instead of in the quarry. Jason gets the call from Breaker that Aaron's dead, and because the whole like Shane thing from Perry's hand was on Aaron in the quarry river, whatever the hell. Breaker says, yeah, it was basically Perry who killed your wife, who killed Aaron. So Jason goes to kill him. Perry runs out of the quarry. "Jay, we gotta go." And then boom, right then and there, Jason just stabs him and keeps twisting the knife further and deeper in his stomach and chest area, stomach area, or like abdomen, whatever. I thought that was kind of a cheap way for Perry to go. I would have liked to see in the kitchen, they fight. Perry tries to stab Jason, and then Jason gets him back. I don't know. That was just kind of a plot convenience that I felt like Perry's death was kind of cheapened. Like, I was expecting something much more dramatic between the two, instead of just Jason getting outraged over his wife, Perry killing his wife, Aaron. So, yeah, that was my one main issue I did have with the finale. So we'll just move on right then and there. MVP, like I said in the beginning, I'll explain it again. I'm adding the show or movie, but in this case, show MVP to the said show, which is Task in this case to these reviews, which is a combination of who my personal favorite character is and who my personal favorite and best performance was in the show in my eyes. And I know a lot of you are thinking, Aiden, you're going to go with Mark Ruffalo as Tom Brandis. I'm not looking at the actor in general because I love Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in the MCU, obviously, for years and years and years. Decades at this point. Almost 2 decades at this point, whatever. But actually, for this show specifically, I'm going to go with, kind of under the radar, someone I didn't really know at all before this show. Tom Pelphrey as as Robbie Pendergrast. I thought the dynamic in the flashback scenes with him and Billy was really well done. I thought the dynamic him and his kids was really well done. But aside from the performances, Robbie, the character, Robbie Pendergrast specifically, he has good intentions. He's just kind of a bonehead with every step he makes. The only thing he kind of planned out was giving that money to the crackhead Shelly so she can drop off and maybe say, "Robbie, why didn't you have this? I'm so sorry." Again, I wanted a flashback scene with that, but Robbie's at least a good man at the end of the day. He just doesn't think, he's kind of a bonehead. So, yeah. Kind of a fun thing here. Hopes and wishes for season 2. I thought half of this series, like, okay, this Task season 1, series as a whole, this is perfect as a one season, 7 episodes miniseries, if you will. We absolutely do not need a season 2. But they left a few things unsaid and a few loose ends, if you will, at the end of the finale where I kind of need a season 2 for that closure. So, number one, what I want to see is season 2. more insight into the dark hearts and the Mother Club as a whole. Because obviously Vincent talks to Perry all the time, and he's a big guy, part of the Mother Club. What does that mean? What do they do? What's the dynamic there? Because obviously the two leaders, if you will, the local chapter, local faction of the Delaware County, I can't remember the name. Delaware County, I'll just say that. They're gone. Jason and Perry gone, the leadership there. So who takes over? Does Donna take over? Do the Mother Club send someone to take over? Do they appoint him? What exactly is the Mother Club? And like, how do the Dark Hearts operate other than just Jason and Perry? I love seeing Jason and Perry, but we need to see more. This is my one thing I want to get out of the way. Don't bring Ethan back in the picture. He's incarcerated now. He's in jail for assumably 3 to 5 prison, assumably 3 to 5 years. Started killing his mom, adopted mom, Susan Brandis. I don't like that dynamic. That whole plot line, storyline is weird. Not weird. It just didn't interest me personally. So we don't need to get. And I don't think a lot of people are thinking about this, but Freddie Frias and the Dominicans, Freddie Frias and the Dominicans. I want to see more backstory on them because they look like an intimidating group of people. So I want to see more exploration of Freddie Frias and the Dominicans. How exactly does their drug trade work around the Philadelphia area, specifically in this case, Delaware County in the show task? How far do they go? What do they do? All that. So don't bring Ethan back. More exploration in the Dark Hearts, the Mother Club, the overseeing faction. What do they do? And then under the radar thing that people might not be talking about or thinking about, but they should. Freddie Frias and the Dominicans. Okay, we went over positives, negatives, my show MVP, and I tossed in a few things, specifically what I want to see in season 2, and I shifted my focus from we don't need a season 2 to oh yeah, we need a season 2. Final score for me. A lot of people are giving this 9 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10. I had a few more issues than most, I feel like. Like me personally, Aiden Wankener, I had a few more issues than most, I feel like, and I had very much more mixed feelings on the finale. There were a few plot conveniences that I didn't like that I explained. You could rewind the video. But I'm going to go 8.75 out of 10. I think the finale was just a bit stronger to me, and there weren't a few plot conveniences, then this would have been like a 9.5 out of 10. But because of that, unfortunately, I got to go 8.75 out of 10. It's not perfect. Everyone's acting like it's a perfect, but it's a damn good show. Go watch it on HBO. HBO's got some bangers. We got Game of Thrones, obviously. All these other shows, The Wire. Speaking of that, a couple shows that I feel like I should watch, I've heard recommended to me based off of this very same realm, if you will. The Wire and Mayor of Easttown. I love HBO's original, so I'm obviously going to start with The Wire, and we'll review that. But yeah, 8.7 out of 10 for Task. Not perfect, but damn good. So, yeah, 8.75 out of 10. For this channel as a whole, I'm going to be ramping back up again. I got a couple shows in the back burner, backlog, if you will. I got to check out Marvel Zombies, and then season 2 of Gen V. And then for the future, I'll be covering Stranger Things, all 3 parts of that. I don't want to get into that stupid release schedule. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. Welcome to Derry. I don't do well with horror, and it doesn't really interest me. Anyways, guys, this channel's going to be wrapping up again. It's going to be fun. I love talking about this stuff. So what do you give Task out of 10? Just a reminder, while we're on the topic, I gave it an 8.75 out of 10 personally. Let me know down in the comments below. What shows do you want me to review, past, present, or future? And what are you looking forward to in the pop culture space? And yeah, and also, if you have any questions or theories about Task or just my philosophy for reviews in general, let me know down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe and share this video and channel with anyone and everyone you know. That is my review for Task. I really appreciate you guys being here. What a show. I will see you in the next time. Thank you for the support as always. I appreciate it. Goodbye.